Ever feel frustrated that you just can't get through to your team or to your kids? Well, you're not alone. Navigating conflicts and rebelliousness to achieve positive outcomes may seem like a difficult puzzle, but with a few skills, you can become someone who can transform your relationships and feel more competent and effective as a leader, a parent, or professional. And we're going to find out how to do all this from our experts today. So let's go say hi to them. Welcome. Hi, Helen.
Hi, Laura. My name is Helen V. Hicks. I'm a licensed professional counselor in New Jersey, and you can find me at helenvhickscounseling.com.
I'm so glad to have you, Helen. And hi, Ame-Lia.
Hi, Laura. I'm Ame-Lia Tamburrini. I'm the CEO of Hum Consulting in Victoria, BC, and you can find me at humconsulting.ca.
Great to have both of you because you come from, or no, you not come from, but you address similar topics, but to different audiences. And Helen, I wanted to start off with you about talking about how to navigate from conflict to collaboration, especially when somebody's parenting. What advice do you have?
Well, my number one piece of advice for parents is to be consistent. And I mean this in every possible way that you can think of consistency. So the number one thing that consistency does for children is it reduces anxiety. It allows for them to master their environment, to master their interactions with other people. And when they develop that sense of mastery, they also develop a sense of confidence. And then as they're building that self-confidence, they're also building trust in the people who are creating that consistent and safe environment for them. Unmute, Laura.
Thank you. So, tell me, that's a holistic approach. I love that because but have you ever run into people or parents that think they're consistent, but they're not? They're like kind of unconscious to it. How can someone catch themselves?
Okay, so the number one way to catch yourself is to look at the areas you're struggling in those interactions with your children, because most likely your children are struggling with those interactions because they don't know what to expect. They don't know if A is going to happen or if B is going to happen. So their reaction is kind of all over the place. And that may cause a parent to feel frustrated with the reaction because maybe they didn't know what to expect or how to deal with it. So start looking at the areas that you have those struggles and then really dive deeper into in what ways may you be lacking some consistency.
What I love about what you're saying is it's taking responsibility at another level for the parent, not just saying, oh, my kid is the problem, right? If they have some work to do. So it's not a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing, right?
No, it's a wonderful thing because what I really focus on teaching parents to do is creating an emotionally safe environment. And that's your job as the parent. And once you take the reins and you take that type of control of here's what I can do, because it's really not about controlling your children. It's controlling what you do and how you present and how you show up. And then that allows your children to then show up in an easier, softer, calmer way.
And it actually feels very magical. Like they changed and all I did was this. That's so cool. Right.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love this idea of navigating from this rebelliousness to collaboration and harmony in the home. So thank you for the work you're doing. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But I want to move over to Ame-Lia and ask you, from your perspective, working with leaders, what advice do you have to help navigate from conflict to collaboration?
Thank you. Great question. And I could easily just say ditto to what Helen said, because I think often that analogy of parent-child relationship is so relevant for the leader in organizations. And likewise, I find that so often leaders and people in general were first and foremost focused on other people when it comes to conflict. How do they need to change? How do they need to show up? How are they going to respond? And we get stuck in our heads about in that dialogue. And in my work, it's turning that focus inward And the advice I have to help people really stay connected to what they want to put out into the world is to create an affirmation for themselves that's based in what they most want. So if they walk into a conversation and they want connection, or they want understanding, or they want to build trust, then can they walk into that conversation and say, I am trust, I am I forgot what I said. I am connection. I am safety, whatever that is that they want to contribute. And when they claim that for themselves as that being a part of their being, how would they show up differently in that conversation versus I need these people to respond a certain way? Again, it's about taking responsibility for how you be and what you create in any given space. And you're 100% in control of that. Nobody else is interfering with that. And I think that's really an important distinction to make in these conflict conversations. Responsibility is huge.
Yeah. And spending time contemplating is what I heard. What is that I am you want to be? And how much time do you think someone needs to spend in this? And it sounds like it's an intention process or affirmation process. What would you call it?
Yeah, I call it setting your intention before you walk in, because where your intention goes, that's where your energy flows, essentially. And it doesn't need to take long. It can take 1 minute to get into your body, do a deep breath, and just say, what is my intention for this conversation? And and often something will just bubble up if you let it, if we can get out of our heads and into our bodies, and then we claim it for ourselves before we walk in to this conversation.
What I love about the conversation the three of us are having here is that the two of you are providing skills. Like one is being consistent and being really aware of what you're putting in the space. And so is yours, Ame-Lia, with, what are you, and then are you affirming that? Can you consistently do that, right? Even if it is just 1 minute. Anything else you'd add to that, Ame-Lia?
I think have compassion for yourself. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get these sorts of conversations perfect and right. And we often beat ourselves up when we find ourselves reacting. And I think we're programmed to want to protect ourselves, and that's all that is. And so when we can understand that it's just a natural sympathetic nervous system response that we just need to calm in that moment, I find that opens the door for more ease and grace in these conversations.
That's great. There's so much synergy between you two. I want to get to know you a little bit better on your expertise side. So, Helen, why don't you share with us first? Who do you work with? What do you do with them?
Okay. So I work with a lot of parents, definitely, but I also work with professionals who work with children. And like I said before, I really focus on teaching them how to create an emotionally safe environment. I don't know if you want me to go into details about the emotionally safe environment, but
You can share one or two. That would be great.
okay. So basically, it's derived from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow theorized that there's a set of needs that every human being has in common. The bottom one is food, clothing, and shelter. And then the second one up is safety, and that is physical safety and emotional safety. And then the third level up is connections. That's where we build relationships and we have a sense of belonging. And so what I find is a lot of people want to jump into having this connection with their children, but they overlook that emotional safety. And emotional safety is where you're cultivating this environment where your child knows exactly what to expect, who they're going to interact with, how that interaction is going to go. If they have a level of safety that, hey, I'm going to be accepted, I'm going to feel good here, I'm going to feel heard here, then that helps children to make the connections. And once those genuine connections are made, they are intrinsically motivated to perpetuate the connection, which eliminates those power struggles.
Amazing. Awesome work. So do you have a story of how you help someone?
Yes. So my youngest son, he attends MMA. And so while there was an older woman who was having a really difficult time that day. She's actually a grandmother who is raising her two grandsons. And so I saw her struggling. So I started a conversation, and she was telling me about how it's such a power struggle to get the grandsons to transition from being at home and playing to getting to MMA practice. And what I shared with her is it's a lot easier if she just presents them with choices. That, okay, you can do choice A or you can do choice B, and have whatever consequence or reward associated with them, not lecture, not get mad at them because they chose B instead of A, none of that. Just present the choices, allow them to choose, and follow through. And she went home, she did it. And the next practice, she came back and she was like, oh my gosh, that works so well. Everything is so much smoother. Everybody is so much happier. And there's just less stress within their family.
I love it. Empowering them with some skills that, they're not hard, but they do take some conscious attention to. Thank you so much.
You're
All
welcome.
right. So Ame-Lia, I'd love to learn about you as well. Tell us about who do you work with and what is your expertise? What do you do with them?
I work with leaders who are out there wanting to change the world. And I want to be clear that I think everybody is a leader. You don't need a CEO title or these sorts of, or you don't need to be a politician. I think every single one of us is a leader. All we have to do is claim it for ourselves. But I work with organizations, nonprofits, for-profits, government bodies as well, who are really wanting to create environments that have that psychological safety that Helen is speaking of, where their employees come in and they feel connected to a community, where there's deep collaboration and they're able to communicate to each other, have those difficult feedback conversations, but do so with ease and grace. So I help bring those teams together, and I work in small circles to do this, to do the inner work, to bring their awareness to themselves and how they are showing up in the world, and possibly unintentionally causing impacts that are going against what they really truly desire. And yeah, I do that through workshops. I do that through speaking engagements and also leadership retreats.
And it sounds like the small groups is where you start, or how do you start? Like if you're going into a really chaotic, non-communicative team.
Yeah, it's a great point. I do start small because there's something magical that happens when we can sit in circle, and where everybody becomes a leader, the power dynamics go away. And everybody can become a knowledge keeper and take responsibility for what we co-create in that space together. And often it's once people can understand that there's a different way of being together than maybe what they naturally see in their environment, that opens up doors for new kinds of conversations.
Wonderful. Thanks for leading them. So how did you get into this work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I believe it started when I was really young. I grew up in a home that had a lot of conflict in it. There's a lot of addiction as well. And so I grew up fairly terrified of conflict. And my solution to that was to not be in conflict. So I avoided it at all costs. I was the one that kept the waters calm, was super nice or very quiet. But over time, that created a lot of havoc in my own relationships because I was never communicating my needs, and I would bottle things up and then I would just explode eventually, which, I know I'm not the only one that does that. But eventually that I didn't love that anymore. And I wanted to find a new way to live my life and be in relationship. And so I ended up working with Gary Zukav for a number of years. And he was the one that really taught me to go inward, to take radical responsibility for everything I was creating in my life. And it allows me to walk the earth today, like free of resentment, free of anger, free of that anxiety that we get before we walk into these difficult conversations, which is such a gift for me in terms of my own nervous system and how I be in the world, but also for the relationships I have in my life.
Yeah, I feel like both of you have talked about taking responsibility and acting from that place. And that's so powerful. We probably could have renamed the program that, so how to take responsibility and change the world, right? But thank you for the work you're doing, Ame-Lia, as well. the women that you are the symbolic of the women we have here at Women Speakers Association, just really dynamic, heart-centered, powerful women who are helping people change the world and changing the world themselves. Tell me about the value that each of you are receiving from Women Speakers Association, why you joined, and what keeps you here. Helen?
Oh, thank you, Laura. So what I value about Women Speakers Association is just being able to reach out to other women and to hear their stories. Like, everybody was where I am right now. So just hearing how they got from where they were to where they are, and just knowing that there's others who can support me, who can give me advice, who can guide me. I really appreciate that.
Yes, we definitely are a sisterhood and a community of people who are available to support. And Ame-Lia, what's been your experience with Women Speakers Association?
Yeah, I've loved Women Speakers Association, and you really encapsulate the energy and intention of this whole organization, Laura. I've been connected with women around the world, which I really appreciate, getting those different perspectives and people that are way ahead of me in terms of my speaking career and that I've learned greatly from. And I've also had the opportunity to be a part of the Voices of the 21st Century book, which I am thrilled about in terms of what that's done for me in terms of the learning journey, but what it will do for me in my career.
Yes, and we're thrilled to have you all. It's Voices of the 21st Century Authors, which is coming out in February. So thank you, both of you, for sharing your wisdom and for sharing within our community as well. We really value you as members and want to continue to serve you. So if you're interested in doing what Helen and Ame-Lia have done, joining us as a premier member, go to joinwsa.com and take the plunge. Join us, come into our sisterhood. We've got networking for you. We've got book opportunities, and we've got lots of other ways for you to connect with amazing women. If you just want to put your toe in the water, however, and you just want to take our download called our Speaker Success Plan, it's a wonderful way to start. You'll get on our email list. You'll hear about the events that you can attend, and definitely join us at your own pace. And that's at speakersuccessplan.com. So thanks again, Ame-Lia and Helen. We'll see you on our next episode. Bye for now.
Bye, Laura.
Bye.